Hey there, this is Arnaud from Pebble, and welcome back to the Introduction to Linear Algebra series. So we've officially entered section 3 of our series, and this is going to start off with linear transformations, which is a very interesting topic in linear algebra, and I'm going to do my best to sort of introduce you to the magic of linear transformations. So in in high school algebra, we learned, well, this basic function notation, f of x. And what this f of x does is it maps a value in our x's to a value in our y's. So we have a set of all our x's here, and then we have a set of all our y's here, and it maps and transforms each of these values to a corresponding one in y. And so we learned what makes a function, right? They have to be, well, we learned that each input can only correspond to one output, right? So we can't have something like where this first x corresponds to these two. We can't have that. And so we mapped and transformed it like that. And that's how we use it. That's how we define our function. In linear algebra, we have something very similar where we're going to say that we have the domain and range of vector spaces, and we're going to use transformation in those. So a transformation, let's say t, it's some correspondence, it's some function that transforms a vector space into another vector space. And we're going to say that our vector space is going to be v and then w. So t, this transformation, is going to transform v, our vector space v, into w. And so v would be our domain, and then our w would be our range. And so this is going to assign to each element in v exactly one element in w. Okay, so it's very similar to a function, but it's a transformation of vector spaces this time. And so we denote this by saying t, normally this would be italicized, I believe, and then v to w. And this is how you denote a transformation, a linear algebra transformation. Okay? And so the way we can represent each element, so let's say small w, that's going to be equal to the result of applying our transformation to the corresponding element small v inside our vector space big V. Okay, and of course you can also remove these parentheses, so it could be written also as TV if you are completely sure that T is a linear transformation. And so the image of T is going to be the set of all vectors in W that are going to be matched with our vectors in V under this rule, this transformation, this correspondence that T does. And so W is going to be in the image of T if and only if there actually just exists some vector V in big V such that W equals TV. Okay? And we take this idea of transformations one step further by categorizing them. So we'll look at a linear transformation in this video, but a transformation t of v to w is going to be linear if for any two scalars alpha and beta and any two vectors u and v, there's a following equality that must hold. Okay, so this equality where t of alpha u plus beta v, this is going to need to equal the scalar alpha times the transformation t of u plus beta times the transformation t of v. So this looks very much like distributive property, and it is, and it kind of intuitively works like that. Okay, so this equality must hold in order for a transformation to be categorized as linear. and this has to hold for any two scalars and any two vectors for our transformation. Okay? And so let's take an example where we need to determine whether the transformation of, this is an interesting one, we're going to transform a vector space into itself, kind of. So V to V. And our transformation here, this is going to be T of any vector V inside V is going to equal a scalar K times V. And since we know that it's a vector space, which means it's closed under scalar multiplication, this should hold true, but we just need to check, is this going to be a linear transformation? Okay? And so what we're going to do is, let's take our idea, this equality here that has to hold true. So alpha u plus beta v, that's going to equal, let's apply our transformation. So our transformation is just k times our input. So ku plus beta v. And so that's going to equal, now these are just scalars and the vectors. So alpha ku plus beta kv. And since we know that ku is just, or kv is just equal to t of u or t of v, we can quickly rewrite this just to be a t of u plus beta t of v. And since this holds, since the equality holds, we know that this transformation is linear because our equation is valid. Okay? And so, particularly when we have a scalar multiple of some vector, we're going to call that a dilation. So even in linear transformations, we're going to have more classifications, and this is going to be called a dilation. So it's going to have the effect of, if you look at it geometrically, it's going to elongate your vector v by a factor of k, or it's going to contract v by a factor of k. Okay, and there's going to be rotations when it's negative and no rotations when it's positive. And so this is very much similar to transforming lines, sort of, but in this case it's a vector instead of a line, and this is be a dilation. Okay, so let's take a look at another example. This time we're gonna have T, and V is going to transform into a different vector space this time. So it's going to transform into W, big W, and T of some input is just going to equal 0. Okay? And we need to check whether this is linear. And so for any two scalars, again, we'll supply our inequality. So T alpha u plus beta v, that's going to equal 0 equals 0 plus 0 equals alpha 0 plus beta 0. And that's just going to equal alpha t of u plus beta t of v. So as you can see, since everything's just 0, it holds true. Okay, so this would be in linear transformation because it would turn into 0, and then yeah, you get this 0 plus 0, you get alpha 0, beta 0, the scalars all times 0 equals 0, so that's going to be linear. And this is going to be called a zero transformation. Okay, and the reason this is because they map every single vector in our domain, which is V, to the 0 vector inside W, which is going to be which is our range. Okay. So I'll give you a bit more of a complicated example, and let's call this transformation L. So the variable, the letter that denotes our transformation doesn't matter. So L is going to be, we're going to transform a polynomial that belongs to power 3 to a polynomial that belongs to power 2. Okay? And let's say that L of A3, which is just a variable, or a coefficient, my bad. It's an arbitrary coefficient, A1, so these are just arbitrary coefficients, t plus A0. That's going to equal 3A3 t cubed plus 2A2 t plus A1. Okay, and so A with any subscript is just going to denote a real number. And so take a look at this problem and tell me if it is going to be a linear transformation or not. So go ahead and do that. So hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at that. And what you should get is that L is indeed linear, because what you're going to do is there's some what you're going to do is you're actually going to break apart the rule we have here. Okay, so the way we can break this apart is we can say, well, let's take a transformation t, for example. T of u plus v is going to equal t of u, and then plus t of v. Okay, and then also t of alpha u is just going to equal alpha t u. So with this, because it's pretty confusing to apply this equation here, it's smart to break it apart and make sure that we can satisfy both these equations instead. Okay, so hopefully you were able to catch that. And if you weren't, don't be discouraged. That's something that you now know and you should be able to catch in the future. And you now are armed with these two equations. Okay, so what you should get is that both those equations will be satisfied, and then L is going to be linear. Okay, and if you've taken calculus or you just are familiar with calculus, you should be able to see that this transformation, this is a derivative of a polynomial. And so this is quite interesting because this just shows us how we can take something of power 3 and then you take the derivative and get power 2. And so we can also define calculus concepts in terms of linear transformations, which is very cool. Okay, and so there are a couple types of other linear transformations, and some of them that we can do are when we map tuples together. So we can map a set of, I don't know, we can map either R2 to R1, so a set of two tuples to a set of one tuple, or we can just map R2 to R2 itself. And so there's a bunch of stuff we can do, but the general principle of linear transformations is still going to apply, and we're going to need to check if it's linear for pretty much all cases, all real numbers, all vectors inside our vector space. Okay? And so, from there, one thing I want you to be fully aware of is that if we have a linear transformation like R2 to R2, what we can do is we can also define our transformation by matrix multiplication. So we could take a matrix A and multiply it by a vector B, right? And our matrix could be anything. It could really just be, I don't know, something like 1, 2, 3, 4. And this, you could very much do a transformation that is defined by matrix multiplication, and this is something important to note, and it's something that you'll probably see a couple times in your linear algebra journey. Okay? And one thing to note about this is that every matrix is going to define a linear transformation itself. Okay, and we'll get more on into that in the future, but that's something to note for right now. And that brings us to a first theorem. If you have a linear transformation L, and that's just something like your n tuples mapped to your n tuples, your m tuples rather, and that's going to be defined as L of u is going to equal a matrix A times u, where A is an m by n matrix, then L is going to be linear. L will be linear. Okay? And you can go ahead and try that. There's a proof here that I want you to try and do. And so it's going to follow from your properties of matrices that for any two vectors, u and v, inside R of n, and any two scalars, that, well, any matrix, it's just going to hold true that first equation we talked about. That needs to hold true. And so that concludes linear transformations in a huge part, or just the basics of how we denote them and how we think of them and how we actually calculate them. Okay? And so I just want to introduce you to one more type of linear transformation, and that's just going to be a projection onto the x-axis. So with two tuples, there's a case where it's going to be as if you're projecting onto the x-axis and or projecting onto the y-axis. And so that's something very, very important to note, just because of, using tuples inside your matrix or linear transformations is going to end up with a bunch of different types of transformations. So I just want to expose you to all of them that I can. And so that concludes linear transformations, and I'll see you in the next video.